Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Hello and welcome to this week's Countryside here on Manx Radio. I'm Simon Clark.
And I'm Kirree. This week I went along to St John's to the 71st Annual Beekeepers Convention and Exhibition.
And I caught up with Ken Harding from Walking.im to find out more about what they get up to on their walks. Well, clocks have changed, Kirree. Here we are, darker nights. Life goes on, though, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I know it's been a bit of rough weather just recently there, but we've got all the way to the end of October just about, and it's been a cracking month for the farmers.
Yeah, and it's a funny one because I always thought in the days of the farm and when the clocks changed, either going back this time or when they move forward. I mean, when I was involved with the girls and all from the milking side of things, you know, the cows would be, what's going on? Roosters are crowing at all hours, aren't they? They're not sure what's happening.
Very, very true. And tonight, just before coming in to record this, the calf was shouting at the gate, wondering where her tea was. And like you say, it's all changed, isn't it, with the timing for them?
Yeah, you can't just point at your watch and say, look, you know the clock's back at this time of year. Anyway, it's a good time of year, and we've heard all over the summer about people getting out about doing some walking during the lockdown and bits and pieces. Well, Walking.im is a walking, obviously, company that is set up by Ken Harding and his team, and he takes people out on various walks. And I got to tell me what it was all about.
I spent the last couple of years planning and getting qualified after spending 30 years in the golf industry, playing golf and greenkeeping, etc. Had enough of that, so decided to do something completely different. Always had a passion for walking, so trained up, qualifications to be able to take people out walking. Sadly, with this year, set it up at the beginning of March, which probably isn't the best timing. But since then, been trying to put all sorts of new and inventive ways to get everybody on the Isle of Man out walking, especially while the borders are closed.
Yeah, and the strange thing is when you say that it was a bad time to set up, but people did on the Isle of Man, they had a bit of time on their hand for the sort of lockdown period where a lot of people did get out and do a bit of walking for the first time, and I'd like to say quite a lot of them have probably still kept it going, really, in a way. And we've had the luxury, I suppose, of being able to still be in groups, Ken, is it?
People are supporting each other, which I find really good, and they're making friendships. And then the group demographic does work in that they push each other along. So all of a sudden they're halfway along a walk and they say, "Oh, how far are we in?" And you say, "Well, we're 6 miles," and they think they've only been going for a mile or so, which is great. So
it's a lot different than walking on your own, isn't it? Where you think, "Oh no," especially if you've got somebody who doesn't like walking particularly. Yeah. Are we there yet?
Absolutely, yeah. That does happen quite a lot, yeah. They really enjoy as well, people, when they're coming out, just talking to each other. Everybody knows the benefits of walking from a physical point of view, but the benefits from a mental point of view are fantastic as well. You know, we all like to be outside and see the great views, but when you can share it with other people, it's really enjoyable for a lot of people, and they've really said that to me.
Yeah, and that's the surprising thing when you're out. I mean, I don't want too many walks, but because I live in the country, I'm out blackberry picking or I'm out for a walk with the dog or in one of the forests or something like that. And you do meet, you know, if you're with a group of people and you get chatting, you do get to that stage where, you know, it gets, what do you do? Oh, I'm a pilot or I'm an accountant. There's so many different walks, excuse the pun, of life that go out and do it.
Oh, I've met some fantastic people this summer. Absolutely. They've all got different jobs, different reasons why they're on the Isle of Man, from being here all their life and being Manx to coming over for work or being stuck over here or looking out, visiting family, and then lockdown came, so they've stayed and all other things. And it's given them a real opportunity to explore the countryside as well, and for me to introduce them to areas that they never would have got to or even had the confidence to go to in the first place.
Now, you've got something a little bit different with your walks because you do some of them in the night time. I mean, how can they see the scenery then?
So the idea of the night walks was just to introduce to people something different. So I put on some dark sky walks where we I chose the darkest time in the sky, best for stargazing, and kept my fingers crossed with the weather, and we did that a few weeks ago, and it was really successful. And a lot of people saw some amazing, we saw the Milky Way and shooting stars.
Mars, particularly close, isn't it?
Mars was particularly good last week, or the week before. And this week we've got, on Friday and Saturday, 2 night hikes along the ridge from Black Hut at Barrule to North Barrule. And obviously it falls in Hoptunet, so we've called them the Hoptunet walks, and they proved quite popular as well.
Yeah, what do they need to bring with them for that?
A
lantern?
Yeah, very much, yeah. A head torch, and fingers crossed I'll point them in the right direction. We'll support them all the way, but some nice warm clothing. But if they want to come on any of those, there's a few spaces left, so need to get in touch, because obviously I don't want an awful lot of people turning up. It's all about safety as well. That's very important, and making sure that we don't have too many people out and about.
Yeah, so in general, the walks then, I mean, they vary in distance and vary in scenic viewing?
Yeah, put on a huge variety of walks, from family walks. I've taken a few families out, which is great. We just introduce them to a bit of nature, maybe look for a few bugs under sticks and under stones and bits and bobs, through to shorter walks on Fridays. I've got a group on a Friday with a calendar of walks where we just all over the island, and then just something with a little bit of interest. For example, this Friday coming, we're at Blaff Plantation, meet from there, go on a walk, and we'll wander down to up over the hill and then down to Kilbrigga, and we'll have a little chat about the Tholtons there and through Tholty Will. And then, as I say, the dark sky walks. But what has been popular this year has been the longer trails. People like a challenge. We all like a challenge, and that's good from my point of view, because it's mean that I can encourage people week on week and put manageable sections. I've done the Radnor Follen a couple of times, but I'm currently doing the Triskelion Way, and I've just finished today with a group who have done it, and they've really enjoyed the walk, and especially at this time of year. So I'm putting that on again from next Sunday as well, from the 1st of November. So I'm hoping that lots of people will be able to get out and about and explore. It's the island's newest trail, 2016, and it really does give a little bit of everything from over the hills to along the beach. It's fantastic.
Well, it sounds like a good variety and something for anyone. If anyone wants to get involved, particularly on these ones for the Hoptunet or the future walks, Ken, where do they get the details from? Just
get in touch with us. Our website's got all the details on. That's www.walking.im, and we're also on Instagram and Facebook. So just send us a message.
Well, there we are. And all the walks, you get to the Calf of Man or anywhere for walks, do you? You stick on the proper land? Or?
No, I do the Calf of Man as well as
right,
a trip.
Yeah.
Yes, certainly. For visitors, definitely, they really enjoy that, going out of Port St Mary, and the boat ride from there, as we know, is fantastic.
Beautiful.
And you can do quite easily 3 hours, nice walking round there, stopping, taking in the views, etc.
And this is leading to options further afield, then, is it, Ken, as well?
Yeah, I think with all the customers I've had this year, and the way that they've all enjoyed the group environment, but they've also increased their confidence and their fitness, which has really made me think that in the future, what about encouraging people to come with me off the island? So I've actually working with one of the providers, Sally Helwich, at Isle of Man Events, and we've put together a programme of small bespoke tours next year to all sorts of places in the UK for walking holidays. Places like Hadrian's Wall, Northumberland coast, Northern Ireland on the Causeway, see the Giant's Causeway, walking the coast up there, the mountains of Mourne, looking at Snowdonia as well, and finishing off with the Yorkshire Dales and the West Highland Way as well to finish. It's a big one. So all various different dates throughout the year. So we're hoping that they'll prove popular and give people the option to continue all the efforts that they've put in and the enjoyment they've got out of walking on the Isle of Man.
Ken Harding, and you can find all them details on the social media and also at Walking.im as well. So lovely fella Ken, very interesting as well, and very enthusiastic about making people want to enjoy walking.
He really is a great guide, and he is catering for everybody. Like we just said about the clocks changing, Simon, he's now venturing out into the dark, up on those hills there to do some of the dark skies. Oh, won't that be really, really lovely? And them cups of hot chocolate and marshmallows at the end of it too.
Yes, that's what's tempting you, isn't it? You're listening to Countryside here on Manx Radio with Kirree Kermode and myself, Simon Clark. Well, we'll have more actually on bees and people involved in beekeeping on next week's programme. But you were at a very large event that happened this week.
It was a very special event, probably one of the only beekeeping shows and honey conventions in the British Isles. I'm led to believe we're in a very, very lucky place here on the Isle of Man. And I popped along to St John's to the 71st Annual Beekeepers Convention and Exhibition to talk to some of the people in charge and some of the exhibitors. John Wardwell, you're not a local here, all the way from New Zealand?
Correct.
How long have you been on the island?
It's been 13 years.
Well, you're nearly Manx then.
Well,
Well, it's lovely tonight here in St John's, everyone bringing their honey in and other wares, obviously, for the competition. Now, you have the big task of making sure everybody ends up in the right class, is that right?
correct, yes. We wait for new entrants to come in. They get their class and their numbers for their exhibits, and then we'll take them through, but we also guide them as to how to do it.
And is there different tips and tricks? Because obviously I see a lot of people polishing jars here. You know, do they have to be weighed, or what's the criteria?
Well, the judging is it's amazingly exact. So even down to where the labels go, they must be, for instance, an inch up from the base of the jar. So the judge is even looking for that. Any fingerprints left on the jar, it's all accounted for, because sometimes the taste and the looks of the honey, they're very similar, and then it comes down to presentation.
And like you say about the taste and the looks of the honey, there is obviously different classes along the back wall here. We're seeing lots and lots of jars already rowed up. What is the difference with them, John?
Well, honey is different depending on what the bees have been collecting. And so, for instance, the first three classes, they've arranged the honey as into light honey, medium honey or dark. And it just means that the bees have been collecting their nectar from different sources. Darker honey usually comes more from trees, and your lighter honey can come from wildflowers, and also clover, for instance, as well.
And what is your favourite honey? Would you sooner the lighter honey?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm a fan of mild honey myself. It's hard to really tell. Depending on what you get, you can have subtle different flavours in there. I had a honey last year that had a very lemony sort of taste to it. It was amazing. I don't know exactly what the bees were collecting, but I suspect it could have been fuchsia.
And does that make a difference, you know, what they've been collecting?
Yeah, absolutely, it does. So, as you can tell, if you tried all these different honeys here, they would all have their own flavours.
That is incredible, isn't it? That really, really is incredible. And you think the Isle of Man's only quite a small place, but obviously the variation is there, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. There's so many different honeys all across the island, and it's just wonderful to see. It's great that you can have so many different flavours.
And the thing is, tonight, John, seeing it all getting set up, it's not just all about honey, though. There's lots of other classes people can get involved with, too.
Yeah, that's correct. We have, for instance, different meads over in that corner there. We've got photographs of bee-related pictures. You've got all sorts of jams and cakes and cookies made.
Yeah, the cookies look really good, I've got to say.
I've got to say, yeah. They'll have to keep me away from that. But, yeah, we've got flower arranging. It's amazing, really, all the different ways that people love bees and want to sort of promote bees and beekeeping on the island.
The judge tonight, John, he's obviously got a big task ahead of him for the whole of the show. He has to judge every single class, I imagine.
He does, yeah, and that's going to take time. But without the judge, we couldn't run the honey show. And to be honest, that's exactly what we were facing. we couldn't get a judge over from the UK, basically. But luckily, Gary and his wife, Susie, they've come over from Canada, and he's got the qualifications needed to judge. So the great news is, he's just come over, so he doesn't know anyone, and therefore he's very impartial as a judge with his views.
Yeah, now that is a really good point, John, because obviously the Isle of Man is a small place, like we said, and having the judge known a few favourites could have been a bit tricky, but what a great thing this is to go ahead after such a tricky year. The pandemic has put the kibosh to a lot of things, so it's really lovely to see the show going ahead.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're all very proud and very, very happy, and it sort of brings all the community together, especially when we're opened it up to the public to come and have a look. So it's another event that's available on the island, and it's something special that a lot of other places just they haven't got access to at the moment.
Well, Gary, we catch up again at another honey event, but a different aura tonight for you, the judge. How do you feel?
Well, I know what I like in terms of honey and mead and things. I'm not a professional honey judge. I guess I'm the COVID stand-in.
And what a year we've had with COVID. But anyway, how do you find, what are you going to be looking for here tonight? Because obviously there's a lot of variation. The island is only a small place, but there seems to be still a huge variation. So what do you particularly like?
The clarity of the honeys, the consistency, the flavour, the aroma, basically the usual things.
The whole package. And would you rather a stronger honey or a mild?
Both.
Both?
It depends. It just depends what I'm having it with.
Fair point, yeah. Tonight, obviously, we haven't got any bread and butter to have any honey sandwiches or toast or anything like that. So now, how are you never going to get mixed up with them all? Because there's so many. Will you lose track, or how do you do it?
I have a scoring system and a notebook.
And what will your favourite part of the show be? Is there something you've been looking forward to in particular?
Yeah. Just it's the first time I've been here, so I'm not really sure what to expect. It's very different from shows I've attended before. So.
Okay. Oh, well, I'll let you get on with it. You've got a long night ahead, maybe. Well, Michaela and Matt, this is your first honey show here in St John's. Now, you're quite new to beekeeping. How has it been so far?
Yeah, no, it's been really enjoyable, to be honest. Like, getting to know, all the different techniques and getting the honey at the end is really rewarding, really. It's nice.
And is there a lot of work to it to keep bees?
There is quite a bit, yeah. I mean, it's been tiresome, but I mean, it's worth the reward.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously at the show now, people are starting to filter in and put their wares on the tables. Now, you've took the brave approach and you've entered a few competitions?
Yeah, we've got some photographs in, some jams, some marmalades, and even a little candle as well.
Now, what is the candle made of? Let's see a bit closer. Oh, it's a lovely design. You've got a bumblebee on the outside of it.
Yeah, so there's a few bumblebees on there.
And that's from your own bees?
Yeah, so we just melt down the wax and then put it in the mould, and it turns into a candle.
Well, there we go. Who knew that? But how did you get involved, Michaela? Because obviously it just doesn't happen overnight.
So I met my partner, Matt, and he had a background of beekeeping years ago. So yeah, it just sort of happened, really. So both got involved in it.
And I suppose this year, with lockdown, it's probably benefited you guys quite easily, really. It's given you a bit more time to get out and involved and keep the bees happy.
Yeah, so we've been able to keep a lot more time into our bees and obviously taken the honey off as well for the first proper year, so it's been enjoyable.
Yeah. And obviously along the way, with lots of different beekeeping groups around the Isle of Man, are you involved with those guys and are they able to help you and support you?
Well, I haven't yet, but yeah, I have relations with Harry Owens, so it's like a family trend. So I mean, he knows me and all about me. So yeah, it's been good.
And how do you keep bees? Obviously, you can't just keep them in your back garden.
No, so you've got some sort of some rules basically, but I mean, as long as they're not in any way any pedestrians and keep them sort of out of the way sort of thing. I mean, but generally they're not too bad. It's only once you disturb them.
And how is it finding a piece of ground to do this? Is there lots of help for young beekeepers to get started like yourselves?
That's a very difficult question because, luckily enough, my father has lots of land, so we live on a farm. So, luckily, I managed to put them out there. But the previous person that we've had, we used to have bees. They've always been out in land. So, for a new, I don't personally know about anything that's been close to in somebody's back garden. So, yeah, it's.
But like you say, it is really, really rewarding. And well, tomorrow will be the moment of reckon to see if you come away with any prizes. How do you think you stand in it?
Yeah, looking around, there is a lot of entries. I didn't realise there would be so much. But no, it's good to see what other people have got and what they can produce as well. It gives us a few ideas for next time.
This is it, next year then.
Yeah, hope so, more prepared.
Gwen Kelly, you're a regular exhibitor in the Honey Show, and it's the 71st annual show. It was nearly a point where maybe we weren't having the show with this current climate with the pandemic. You've obviously pulled out all the stops and here we are.
Yes, we were unable to get a judge from England or Ireland this year, but we have got our own resident judge this year, a new resident that came to the island a couple of years ago. So Gary has kindly offered to judge and give us a talk tomorrow.
And that there must be a sigh of relief because obviously so much work goes into beekeeping, doesn't it?
It is, yes.
Yourself, you're obviously our annual exhibitor. You've got how many entries in this year? Because obviously last year you did very well.
I don't know, but six or seven entries, I think. We've got medium honey, we've got the 3-jar class, we've got cough mixture, and some oat and honey cookies.
Oh, lovely. Like, go just nipping back to the cough mixture there. It is one of those things where you always, when you're poorly, get a spoonful of honey and a bit of lemon, and it does work.
It does. The pharmacists are saying it works better than lots of the ready-made ones from the big companies. But a spoonful of honey, lemon and some hot water and a bit of ginger and perfect to stop any cough.
Well, that's the thing. It's the old ways, isn't it? It's the old traditional methods that always come through, and they do the full circle, don't they? Really?
Yes, it always goes full circle.
And with lockdown, Gwen, obviously the island stopped. We had to stay at home. How did you cope with the bees? Because obviously they're not all on your land, are they?
No, but we were able to look after, because bees are livestock, we were able to look after the bees each time, and we were able to fetch swarms if they had swarmed into anybody's garden, and the beekeepers kept going, and the bees certainly kept going as well.
But was it tricky times? Because obviously everybody was in the unknown, the announcements were coming thick and fast, and was it worrying times?
It certainly was a worrying time. But thankfully the island has come through relatively unscathed, so let's hope we can keep going like that.
Yeah. Now, Gwen, we're just looking at the honey here, and they are all different shades, aren't they?
Yes, just depends which flowers that the bees are foraged on. Normally we have a good selection of very, very light honey. I haven't got any this year. My honey is all like a medium colour this year, sort of a nice...
And what would do that? Why would it change from year to year?
Depends on the forage, the flowers. This year it rained through most of July and August when the clover was out. So there isn't so much clover honey, but we have got honey from earlier on in the season. This year my honey was very, very thick, and it's crystallising very, very fast, but all good honey will crystallise. So we've got medium honey. We haven't got any dark honey this year. Sometimes an odd beekeeper will bring this very, 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 very dark honey that they've gathered, but.
And what would make it so dark? Would it
just depends on what flowers?
Again, the flowers, yeah.
Yes. But we've got soft set honey and crystallised honey. And as you can see, they're all different colours.
They really are. The variation's huge, isn't it?
There's a class there with 3 different colours of honey. So obviously the beekeeper has got honey in 3 different parts of the island, or maybe he's just harvested the honey very early in the season.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the 3 beautiful different colours.
They really are, and they are stand out, aren't they? It's not just a little bit of a shade difference. They really are different.
They are.
And is it the beekeeper's personal choice to how they will display them tonight, or or is it something it happens like that?
No, it's in our rules that the honey has to be displayed in squat 1 pound jars with screw lids. That's the old-fashioned honey jar that most people see. It's creeping in now that we are able to use the twist lids as well, and somebody's using plastic lids as well. We've got 12 jar class. That means that the beekeeper has brought 12 jars of identical honey.
And do you think they will be identical?
Absolutely.
Really?
They won't be first prize if they're not. You can see the colour of them. The colour, the consistency of each jar will be identical.
And will the judge take a few of the tops off to have a look in, or will
he will take the lid off every single jar of honey here this evening, and he'll lift the jar up to the light. And if he can see any debris or bee's leg or anything, bit of fluff or hair inside the jar, that's discarded. If he can see daylight under the top of the jar, between the glass and the lid, that will be discarded because it's not full enough.
Goodness me.
If he can, then he takes the lid off the jar and he'll sniff it for the aroma.
And will they smell all different?
They'll smell completely different. And then it'll get down to the taste, whichever the judge prefers.
My goodness. But the display of these, Gwen, I can't... I'll take some photographs for our listeners to have a look on Facebook, but the display is absolutely perfect, isn't it? They're immaculate jars of honey.
They are.
It must be a tough competition.
It is a very tough competition. We have... Yes, there's beekeepers from all around the island, and if you bring your honey here and you learn how to present it properly, so that if you put it into a shop or sell it, you know how to. It should be presented.
And you talk about putting it into shops. People are wanting to buy local. They're trying to support more local. I think the pandemic, that's definitely one good thing that's come out of it, is the support for local produce.
It certainly has, yes. We have lots of people looking for honey.
That is brilliant. And just here in Class 14, Gwen, there's obviously a wooden frame with a glass front on it with obviously a piece of comb inside it.
Yes, that is how you would like every frame in the beehive to look. It's absolutely perfect. It's level front. Every cell is capped, and that's what the judge is looking for, and that's what a beekeeper would like to see.
And does it happen like that?
Sometimes.
But they are absolutely uniform, aren't they? The work that the bees have gone into to get that is just as beautiful and as perfect like that. It's hard to believe how good nature is, isn't it?
It's beautiful, isn't it? Yes.
It really is. And further along we're seeing soaps and candles and other sort of, what would you call them, byproducts of the beekeeping?
Yes. The cough mixture is made with honey and glycerin and lemon juice. The candles are made out of pure beeswax. They've been melted and moulded. The mead is made out of often the washings of the honey. When you wash the extractor and wash all the equipment, you can use that and add some honey as well.
So the mead is alcohol?
Absolutely.
My word, that would be absolutely lovely, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But it just goes to show that there's nothing gone to waste, is there?
No, Debbie has made the soaps and hand cream from beeswax and oils.
The lavender and chamomile shampoo bar. Now that sounds really lovely, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
And beautifully displayed again by Debbie, isn't it?
It is. It's very nice.
Yeah. Good. And the wildflowers, I know we've had a bit of a tough spell of weather just with the heavy rain that we've had the last sort of 48, 72 hours. They're looking fairly good.
They certainly are. The class is for flowers and foliage connected to the honeybee. So you can see most of the flowers. There's no shop-bought flowers there. They're all wild or garden flowers, single flowers that the bees are interested in. I know I've got some herbs in mine. I've got marjoram and parsley and some rosemary and different herbs.
And the
flowers.
bees do like the herbs. You think
Yes.
it has to be bright and colourful for them to be attracted. That's not the case.
No, they like herbs. They're the old-fashioned ones that you often see. If you go to Peel Cathedral, they've got herbs there, and it's alive in the summertime with the sound of the bees.
It's absolutely beautiful. There's nothing nicer than the height of summer when you have the bees around. Even if you're not into doing beekeeping or anything like that, it is still really, really beautiful.
It is.
But people can do an awful lot to help the bees just in their own gardens without keeping hives or anything like that, can't they?
Certainly can. Is just keep your flowers and leave the dandelions in the springtime.
Because that's it, isn't it? Off we get round with the mowers, get them cut down. But I've seen this year, Gwen, around the island, there was some areas left and with a little notice up saying this is a bee-friendly area. Mm-hmm. It will help, I'm sure.
It does, yes. And it helps not only the honeybee, but the bumblebee and all the other pollinating insects that we've got around the island.
And I suppose we've got to always remember it's the circle of life. Without them, we don't really have anything, do we?
No, we definitely need the honeybees.
There we go. That was some of the exhibitors at the 71st Annual Beekeepers Convention and Exhibition with Gwen Kelly there, Michaela Robinson and Matt Corlett, beginner beekeepers, John Ward, the secretary, and Gary Culett, the judge.
Yes, and next week we're hearing from Harry Owens, who's been rewarded for his services to beekeeping as well, hasn't he?
That's right, the British Empire Medal there, and well deserved to Harry. A huge congratulations to him. But he was saying there that the bees this year, the honey has been a bit tricky with the drier part earlier on in the year and then wetter through the summer months of August and July there. But we'll hear from him next week.
Yeah, well, because we've got 2 hives at home, Kirree, now.
Very
we're
cute.
sort of beginners at it as well, and we were thinking this year, if we're doing something wrong, sure, I had the hives the right way up and everything, but I was thinking, why isn't it seem to be much honey?
That's right. It was tricky times for the bees, and obviously with lockdown there, it was very worrying times for the beekeepers around the Isle of Man. But I think they're getting back into the swing of things now.
And if you've got any forthcoming events, let us know, like this one.
Yes, coming up is the Royal Manx Agricultural Show, Prime Stock Show out at Knockalo, and they're taking entries up until the 6th of November. So if you've got any beef, cattle or sheep for the show, to get in touch with the Royal Manx Secretary, Carol Kenyuk, and she'll pop you out in entry form.
Lovely. OK, if you've got anything for Countryside, please leave a message here at Manx Radio for Kirree Kermode or myself, Simon Clark. You can send an email to countryside@manxradio.com. And don't forget, if you go to Manx Radio's website, powered by Millie Chaps of Ramsey, you can download the podcast free of charge. And get all the interviews in full, because obviously we have to compact it for the Tuesday's programme. All right, that's it for this week. Enjoy your hop tune there if you're out and about, and make sure they're termites. We'll see you next week at 6. So from me, Simon Clark.
And me, Kirree Kermode.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.